Okay. Welcome back. Solo role Mangging Shadowdark. We are still continuing this. This is turned out to be quite a lengthy little campaign, but again, I'm just really interested in modifying Shadowdark, mostly for like an upcoming campaign I'm going to be running for a group that I want to use Shadowdark with. So last time we went into the Sunless Fane. We were doing well until Kurather picked up a necromantic book. He got jumped by a few shadows and survived the encounter, but did not survive the Morgul blade, as it were. So he is no more. Yeah, so we're going to be making a new wizard almost certainly, and we will be heading back to town to do so, because we want to throw him a nice big heroic funeral. I guess we don't have to head back to town. We could throw the funeral here at the keep and just say some wizard came along and it's like, hey, I want to be a wizard man with you. And then he does. We don't really have to go back for anything. So a couple more house rules have been added. Mostly the ancestries. Like I talked about, I kind of wanted to buff all the other ancestries except human. Human, I think, is still kind of the best. And yes, you could just say, well, if they want to play a dwarf, they'll play a dwarf, you know? They don't care. Some people care. I care. So I've adjusted all of them. Except for humans. I could have slightly buffed humans as well. Like maybe giving them +1 to a stat or something. But honestly, I don't think they really need it. It's true that after character creation, humans have no benefit of any kind. But +1 to a stat wouldn't change that either. They would just be kind of a bit better. So I think they're fine. Dwarves. And for a bunch of these, I futzed with a few options on paper before I was like, no, it's a bit maybe too much. And the original intent, the original thing I wrote down for dwarves was they get advantage against all hostile magic effects. Or, in other words, you could say that enemies casting spells at them get disadvantage on the spellcasting check. You know, something to do with their magic resistance. But in the end, I was like, that might be a bit too much. So I just gave them 3 extra gear slots. And a bunch of these were taken from the player companion for, like, different sub-races of dwarves and elves. Yeah, so 3 extra gear slots, which I think no one can really complain that much about. Elves, I originally gave them advantage on all listening and searching checks with keen senses. But much like Goblin, I didn't want to give them something that they would just get already from picking, like, Thief, you know? I didn't want anything to be redundant. So I changed it to Healer. They roll any stabilization attempts with advantage. Is that good? It's not bad. An Elf already gets +1 to ranged or spellcasting checks, which is already pretty good. It's comparable to the human's extra talent roll for a lot of classes. So, yeah, I mean, elves didn't need much of a buff, but I gave them that. Just because stabilization can be sometimes kind of rough. Goblins, I gave lightless vision. This is just to match the sort of stat block from Axe Monster Manual, which we tend to use for everything. Those are the goblins I utilize. So it just, I'm not going to have some incongruency between the Monster Manual goblin and a player goblin. So they all get lightless vision. And basically, yeah, they can sense form and movement in the darkness out to 30 feet, but not any details. It functions as dim light. So a torch sheds bright light in 15 feet, and then dim light out to 30 feet. And The specific thing about dim light is that thieves and other sneaky creatures can hide and sneak in dim light from creatures, which means that even though like goblins, hobgoblins, all that, a lot of creatures have lightless vision, a thief can sneak through all that. But if they make noise or what, I mean, it's still risky and everything, but they're not just, yep, they see you, you're fucked. It's not as good as regular vision, and that's why a lot of these creatures will still have torches and things around. But I decided that wasn't enough because that's basically shadowy senses, which thieves already get. So I had to give them something else. They're the only one that got 2 extra things. And I gave them advantage on any rolls to resist poison. Because they have adapted to the filth. They were molded by it. Half-orcs, again, didn't get that much of a buff because I think their ability is, again, kind of akin to something like an extra talent roll. They get +1 to attack and damage with melee weapons. Is already not a bad option. So I gave them +2 on any death timers they roll, and they recover on a roll of 19 or 20. Yeah. And then halflings probably got the shortest end of the stick as far as, like, I wasn't sure what to give them. But I went with sort of in line with DCC, where halflings are just lucky, and I just let them hold an extra luck token. They don't start with an extra luck token or anything, but they can just hold on to 2 instead of 1. Which doesn't really align with the pulp mode if you play that way, where everybody can hold 1d4, or you can hold as many as you want, I think, and you can, yeah. But I don't play with pulp mode, so that's whatever. All right, so that's all that. So then the only thing really is, since we have an elf in Zaphiel, he can roll stabilization attempts with advantage, but I'm not going to worry about that too much. The other thing that I think I'm going to change, and this is where we get kind of fucky. I think it's pretty clear that the Axe spell list is probably more powerful across the board compared to the Shadowdark spell list. And being able to get free spells each level, being able to find scrolls or spell books and copy those spells in, and being able to go to like a mentor or a wizard college or something and try to learn those spells, things can kind of run away from you, and you can just have a laundry list of spells that pretty much you never run out of, and you become like a D&D 5e caster where you're just every turn you have a spell, and it's not even a cantrip. I mean, you're just dropping spells left and right. By level 6, I can't really imagine. So the change would be you don't get free spells at level up, which is like most of these. I mean, that's like how I run Tales of Argosa. That's how Axe is, and whatever. You just don't get free spells, because why would you really? I mean, it's sort of meant to be kind of a representation of just you've grown in your understanding of magic and you have adapted new ways to use magic. Much like a fighter, they get like a +1 to attack because they've grown more accustomed to fighting and they get just better at it. It's experience. But I think for balance purposes, it's probably best if they don't get any new spells automatically. Which means that, yes, it is actually a lot harder than in this game compared to Axe to amass spells. But there's also no limit to how many you can have. Whereas Axe, you are limited in how many you can kind of have in your repertoire each day based on your level. Shadowdark, we're not going to implement that system. So it's, pros and cons here, I suppose. Now, I said that I would let players maybe choose if they wanted to use the Shadowdark spell list or the Axe spell list. I think I'd probably say if you use the Shadowdark spell list, you do get free spells at each level, because they're just not as good. So it's almost like 2 different classes here, really. It's like a wizard and a mage, to be honest. But that's really the only point where those classes would differ. But all right, I'm gonna assume our default is we're using the axe spell list because I much prefer it. So you do not gain any new spells at level up. You may cast tier 2 spells at level 3, tier 3 spells at level 5, tier 4 spells at level 7, and well, actually, axe goes to tier 6. 9, and tier 6 spells at level 11. I believe that's how it works, but let me double check. Okay, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11. Okay. So that's it. You may learn and cast tier 2 spell. Okay, yeah, we got it. All right, so that means depending on the situation, depending on the campaign, depending on how things go, depending on your actions, so on and so forth, you might only have 3 spells for quite a while. But you're already 1 up. Actually, you're 2 up on a axe mage who only starts with 1 fucking spell. Technically, though, well, no, so they would actually start with a bit more than that. Because that's increased by your intellect bonus. Well, that's the number and level of spell a mage can cast in a single day. The repertoire can include a number of spells up to that number plus your intellect bonus. So chances are you're probably going to have like a 15 or 14 or 15 in it. You probably have 2 or 3 spells in your repertoire to start each day. So you have like 3 options, maybe, and at level 1, 2 or 3 options. Level 1, you can cast 1 per day. So yeah, we're already well ahead of that curve, but that's in line with Shadowdark's spell system, so yes. Yeah. And again, the 15 intelligence check and all that sort of stuff, it's going to be harder to learn new stuff. So you might find a badass scroll, you might get it, and then you try to learn it, and yep, you fail, and it just vanishes and gets eaten up and gone. So it is harsh. I mean, this is a heavy nerf to mages. I would not have had Sunflare at all in this case. But I think it's an important balancing mechanic for this system. So that's what we're going to roll with. All right, let's make our new wizard pal. Let's roll for an ancestry. He is going to be a human this time. That's fine. We need another feminine touch, I suppose. So we'll have a female wizard mage character wizard named Emina. No. Yes. This is good. Oh, this is nice. Okay, we're gonna swap charisma and int then. Yeah, that +2 dex is gonna be a nice shift in our initiative compared to -2. Yes, this is good. Wizard. Background, well, actually, we'll roll on our D100 for that, blah, blah, blah. It's deity, worships Ged, that's fine. Technically, we do 2d6 times 100 gold he starts with. Or 2d6 times, yeah, it's 20. Okay. For talent, we have +2 to int. Okay, hold on. Perfect. Yes, +2 to int. And now we're gonna roll our second one. Plus 2 to int again. Why not? Excellent. And that's why humans are fucking good. Let it be known. Because that plus 2 to int at this point is better than plus 1 spellcasting checks. We use int for multiple things. Foraging, lore checks, you know, things like that. Opening that puzzle box, all sorts of stuff. Stabilization. Yes, okay. So our hit points then at level 1 are going to be 5. Now, do we want to throw a heroic funeral? Probably. Probably with this topaz ring that Kurathair... Well, he didn't get it for us, and he didn't open the box, but it feels connected to him in some way. So I think we're just going to ditch the topaz ring, and that's our funeral. Because it would be very hard to get up to level 3. We'd have to throw out like 4,400. Could we do that? I don't think so. 2,800, 3,200, 3,450, 3,480. And then cash-wise, do we have a lot of cash? Oh, we have... Oh, yeah, we do have... Oh, yeah, the 2 ivory bracelets. Okay, we could get this chick up to 3. Okay, so 2,800. Plus, let's say the 2 bracelets. That's 1,000. That's pretty close already. Plus the ingots. 500. That's 4,300. Plus the tiger's eye. 4,550 minus 10%. 4,095. That's what we're gonna do. So this is gone. Oh, we also have coinage, but we'll hold on to that. This is gone. And the tiger's eye is gone. Okay. You can hold the brass puzzle box worth 400 gold. And the cheap gold ring. 30 gold. Why do I have that as 1 slot? It should be like 5 total. Okay, excelente. We are good to go. All right. Yeah, we will be taking some stuff off of Kurathair's body, I guess. We'll take his bandages. We'll take his bedroll. We're gonna take his darts. 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 We'll take the iron spikes. We'll take his torches. The backpack. Tinderbox. Yeah, it never hurts to have a dagger, sure. Alright, thank you, Kurathair. You've served us well, I suppose. Let's find a portrait for Emina. Female human mage. Sure. Okay. So she will be, what did we say? 4,095 out of 8,000. Yeah, straight to level 3, baby. Now that money could have been used for all sorts of stuff. You know, that was quite a bit of money. We could have gotten Masterwork, I don't know, Masterwork Great Shields at the very least for our 2 frontline. But beyond that, yeah, I'd probably rather have a level 3 mage. So let's just level up to 3 real quick. Means we get another talent roll. That one's going to be +1 to spellcasting now, because technically there's no, in Shadowdark, there's nothing past +4. There is no +5, 6, or anything like that. You can keep increasing your intelligence, but unless you're... Now, I don't know why you would. By the default rules. But I'm pretty sure Axe does go beyond, I would imagine. No? No, maybe it doesn't. Maybe 18 is sort of the max, and it maxes out at +3. It seems unlikely. These old school games love to go above that. Because, like, if I was playing, like, a Hill Giant or something. But I guess, no, the old school, maybe it never did. 18 was just the max. Because, like, if you think of, like, Gauntlets of Ogre Strength or something, that just increases your strength to, like, 18. Let me see if they have that or anything. Gauntlets of Ogre Strength. +2 bonus to all melee attack throws and damage rolls. +8 bonus on dungeon bashing throws. Carry an extra stone. 10 stone is maximum load. Okay, yeah, I mean, it's pretty good. Okay, so that doesn't modify your actual strength score at all. It's just sort of as if you had +4 strength, as well as this extra stuff that's pretty nice. I mean, they're pretty good. Pretty darn good. Okay, right. So she needs 3d4 hit points +1. She's gonna have 9. That's a solid number. She starts with a luck token. And she needs spells. Is it plausible a level 3 wizard would be at this point in the game without any extra spells? They've never found a scroll, a spell book, and they never went to the wizard the Tower of Knowledge to get a mentor or anything like that. Probably not. I think I'm gonna roll randomly for a tier 2 spell that she gets. So she's gonna have 3 tier 1s. She can pick one, and then a random tier 2. So the one tier 1 spell that we want to pick. It's hard to go wrong with Mage Missile, but as you saw, we actually didn't use it that often because the damage is just so slim. So Slumber probably is the best bet. It seems hard to not pick that just because of how versatile it can be, how devastating it can be against a group of early dungeon enemies. So I think we'll go with Slumber, which I didn't actually make, did I? I just altered his sleep spell to Slumber. Okay, well, let's make it. Slumber. This is going to be tier 1 wizard. Technically, it's also a tier 2 priest spell, but that's going to have to be... You can't differentiate it like that, so it has to be different spells. Yeah, eventually you get Deep Slumber. 20-foot diameter. Any living target must make a paralysis saving throw. Otherwise, they're slumbering. For the big stuff. Okay. That is our chosen one. Then our randos. Slash roll d30. Roll 1d36. 8 is going to be Counterspell. Okay. And Arcane Armor. Let's make it. Counterspell. Not a spell I've looked at, actually. so many spells. Oh my god, there's so many spells. Where I missed it. Counterspell. Enables the caster to extinguish a single ongoing spell or spell-like effect that has been cast on a target creature or object. So it can be used on willing creatures or objects held by willing creatures. If used on unwilling or object held by an unwilling, they get a spell saving throw. And then a random spell or effect on the creature becomes the target of the spell. Once the target spell is determined, caster must make an attack throw versus the spell or spell-like effect, treating it as a creature with an armor class equal to the difference in caster level between the creator of the spell or effect and the caster. Some spells and effects cannot be ended by counterspell, including spells or effects that are not cast on creatures or objects, curse spells or effects, petrification spells or effects, and quest spells or effects, as well as magic items with effects of permanent duration and diseases caused by spells or effects. It's limited. I mean, it's going to be kind of somewhat specific stuff, but if there's an enemy mage or something with buff spells, yeah, it could be a great way to counter that. All right, and then arcane armor. Or mage armor, if you will. So the last half an hour. Negates magic missile attacks. Guarantees you 17 AC against missile attacks, 15 against melee attacks. It's a big buff that she probably should have on every half hour, you know? As long as you're in a dungeon, there's not much reason not to cast this. Alright, and then our random tier 2 one, she found a scroll at some point. And at level 3, she managed to learn it. 15 is Frostbite. Okay. Well, at least it's an offensive spell of some kind. 90-foot range, lasts 1 round per caster level, so 3 rounds. Exposes the target creature to bitter cold. They must make a death saving throw. If the save succeeds, the spell has no effect. Fails, they immediately suffer 1d6 cold damage. At the start of the same initiative count each round of the spell's duration, the target suffers another 1d6 damage. And then at the end, become frostbitten, must roll 1d6 on the 16 to 20 roll of the cold mortal wounds table, possibly losing fingers, toes, an ear, or even his nose. Okay. So basically, yeah. So it lasts 3 rounds right now. I think that includes the first round. So really, it's going to do 3d6 damage over the course of 3 rounds if they fail. It's certainly no Sunflare or whatever, but it's not bad. And it's it's really our only option for an offensive spell. Especially against undead, who I don't know if they can actually take frost damage. Might be good to figure out. Let's see. Let's see. Let's look at the shadow. Say we went back to that room. Not that we ever would. Immune to enchantment effects, poisonous damage, and all mundane damage. Yeah, I mean, they can be frostbitten. There is nothing... I mean, you wouldn't think so, right? Because you'd think they're just a shadow. But... yeah, there's nothing here that says frostbite wouldn't work. That's how fucking cold it is. Okay. Also, I think we were gonna roll her background. D100 for her background. 23 is a philosopher. Okay. And yeah, we have to make this shit. Alright. Is that it? Yeah, I mean, what else would it really be? She's got all her gear she needs, and she's got spells. She's ready to go. Excellent. Welcome to the party. Then I suppose we're ready to move on. Except we have a slight issue, don't we? Kurathair was the employer of these 8 mercenaries. They were not working for the group. They were working for Kurathair specifically. He was in charge of them. They answered to him. They don't answer to a group. I mean, those the rules, man. So that means technically we have that situation of transferring employment of a hireling. The hireling's loyalty and morale scores are immediately recalculated based on charisma, proficiencies, and class powers of the hireling's new employer. The transfer then counts as a calamity. Yeah. So now they have to re-roll on the loyalty table to see who's going to follow, say, Scylla instead. And it would be Scylla. She has the highest charisma, so it would be her. Now they have to work for a woman? Ooh, I don't know, man. I don't know. These, historical soldier types might not appreciate that. Yeah, so it says here that they get -1 loyalty each time they suffer a calamity. Trying to think. They should have had a higher loyalty to begin with, because it's modified by charisma, and I don't think I did that. They started with +1. They had +3 total. I deducted 1 because of the grudging loyalty thing. So they should have been then at 2. But now they lost another 1 because of her lower charisma, and another 1 because of the calamity. So they are at +0. Okay, so we're gonna have all 8 roll again. And again, so it's +0. So if any of them roll 5 or under, it's not good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so 2 of them are going to be leaving. Technically, fanatic loyalty. One of them has a major crush on Scylla or something. Yeah, so we have, let's see, 6 to 8. 1, 2, 3. We have 1 fanatic. Okay, I won't lower loyalty anymore. They're at +0, but we lost 2 of them. And they're like, yeah, I don't know. This probably isn't for me. It is what it is. Okay. Fine. I think we're heading out then. Let's roll. So, new day. We're departing from the keep. Along our shortcuts. Same routes. I mean, we're getting pretty comfortable with routes here. Although, Kurathair was our navigator. So, but yeah, I mean, the whole group has kind of been on the same path now a couple times. So I'm not going to roll navigation. I'm going to roll navigation here. to see if we make it here, because that we didn't really get to do many times. So navigation to try to find that valley again specifically, but the way there is fine. Okay, so the first one, this is going to be Unsettled Forest. It's an 8, which is a monster encounter, unfortunately, in an unsettled area. So our rarity on that one is a uncommon. And we are in the forest. We rolled a 3 on the uncommon. Giant ants. All right, well, that's fun. They are pretty nasty. 4 hit dice. 10% chance to find them in their lair. Nope. Then we find a swarm of 4d6. 15 giant ants. That is a fucking battle, man. That is not good. They have terrestrial mechanoreception, so they can sense vibration in the ground over long distances. Equivalent to line of sight in full daylight. Equivalent to line of sight in full daylight, which I think is like 600 feet. So they 100% have foreknowledge of us. But there's a lot of other factors. Do we have an encounter activity table for giant ants? That would help. I don't think so. I don't think so, Tim. Okay, nothing for ants. All right. Then let's just roll well, encounter distance. It would be within 80 feet or something like that, right? I mean, that's the average, I think, in the forest. They are a big pack. We're a big pack. They sense us from much farther, though. So I don't think they can be surprised at all. I think we could be surprised. It's always hard for me to determine. It's like, it's a pack of 15 giant ants that are like 5 feet long, moving through the forest. You'd think they wouldn't be that hidden or anything. But if the encounter begins as soon as they sense us, that would be 600 feet away. The encounter would begin perhaps without us even knowing they exist. Like 600 feet away or something. I say 600 feet because of the I'm pretty sure that's... Oh, maybe it's a lot farther than that. Oh. No. We're a party, a group of 6 plus 4, 10, 14. So 900 feet in the daylight. That's how far away they can sense us. So 900 feet away. We can sense them like 80 feet away. Well, no. Theoretically, reduce visibility by 50%. So there would be 15 of them, so it would be half of that. So it would be 450. Theoretically, that's the maximum we could sense them. That's not when the encounter distance is. But yeah, that's where I always sort of get a little confused with the encounter distance thing. Because it's like, it's tricky sometimes, because it's not like anything teleports in or just suddenly phases in. The ants came from somewhere. They can sense us from 900 feet away, walking across the forest. You know? but it says the encounter occurs at either the maximum encounter distance or maximum visibility distance, whichever is less. Yeah, see, that's where I just... So they wouldn't sense us? They wouldn't sense us until the encounter occurs like 80 feet away in the forest? I feel like that's probably... I suppose you could, yeah, I mean, you could do it that way, but because they have the mechanoreception, they have foreknowledge, and we don't. And the only reason we say we don't is because we don't. I don't know. There is no ruling on that because it's just up to the DM to decide if you do or you don't. And that's why I like the encounter activity table, because it gives me a little bit better idea of what they might be doing and how that might influence things. If they sense us and they're waiting in ambush, I guess it's going to come down to the reaction roll, I suppose. Of whether they're waiting in ambush or they are just walking. They're not interested and they walk away. So it sort of depends on the reaction roll, but we don't do the reaction roll until after surprise. Because we have the option of maybe evading before we even get to reactions. But if we're surprised, then we can't evade. So you have to roll for surprise first. And that brings back to the foreknowledge question. Because technically, when the encounter... Fuck. I'm terrible with this. Just trying to... I need like a seasoned DM here to just run me through it and how they would rule and stuff so I could have just a good idea. It's the biggest question, I guess, is when does an encounter start? If the encounter occurs at the maximum encounter distance, that would be when we see it. But if they're hidden, then we might not have line of sight on them because they're lying in ambush. Right? How do I know if they're going to be lying in ambush or not until we roll to all the other things? So then in that case, you don't roll. You don't consider whether they're lying in ambush or not until later. So then it's just, we're in a vacuum here. They had foreknowledge. We didn't. We don't have reason to know that these things existed. And then line of sight, that's another. It's like, how do I know if we have line of sight? I don't know. I would assume we have line of sight. So then they can't be surprised and we can, and we roll a d6. Okay, we're not surprised. So now, before we know what they're doing or why they're doing it, or how they feel about us, we can roll for evasion if we want. I guess, but the players are going to be like, well, what are the ants doing? I'm like, okay, I have to narrate this before they can, I have to narrate something so they can make an informed decision on whether or not they want to evade these ants. So I do have to decide before we roll reaction what these ants are doing. In which case, they're not in ambush. That is no longer an option. I don't know when I would have decided exactly if the ants are in an ambush or not, or like, because they had foreknowledge. And you could say, well, that was what the surprise was for, but not necessarily. We could just come around a corner and be surprised that there's ants there, just sitting there, just like building a nest or something. Like, I don't know what they do. You know? So surprise does not necessarily mean that, oh, they're waiting in an ambush. It could just be we're surprised to see them. That's all. So really, the DM just has to decide. I guess that's what the encounter activity table would be, which would be one of the earliest things I'd roll. I'd put it in here. I roll it right after encounter distance, which again, like we're just saying, is like 80 feet. So between the number appearing, the layer roll, and the encounter distance, before rolling for surprise, I should decide what the ants are doing, because that could be a factor. But that's annoying, because I'd want to figure out the reaction first to determine if they would want to be in an ambush or not. Because some of those encounter activity rolls do indicate, like, a hostile thing, or like they're waiting or something like that to attack you. Except the encounter activity tables, I guess, don't do that. A lot of these don't account for the players at all. This is just what they're doing when we see them. But if the ants, the thing is, specifically the problem with the ants, instead of just like goblins or something, is the ants sensed us coming 600 feet away. They wouldn't be just sitting here doing their normal thing. They would almost certainly account for that. There's a group of 10 individuals plus 4 donkeys walking through the forest. And I think I'm trying to find guidance here that isn't going to be there, because it's just every situation is different. And I suppose you could roll a reaction beforehand. You could change the order just to help the DM decide, like, what almost like an oracle roll of just like, yeah, how are they feeling today? And if you roll low, you know, they might be like, oh, food's coming, let's jump it. Or if they roll higher, they might just be like, oh, we don't want anything to do with that, we're gonna go away from here. Otherwise, we just see them and they are just like building a nest. They're just kind of sitting there. They're like, okay, well, something's coming, but we don't really care, we're busy. So in this situation, I'd probably roll a reaction first, and then depending on certain types of creatures or certain actions, you know, the players, if they don't or can't evade and they want to like interact with the creatures, then I might roll a new reaction based on this table of where you influence the reaction. And then that could shift it in different ways, you know? So I guess that's probably how I would do it. Because it's basically, the reaction roll is just mostly for me, for my purpose of deciding how these things are acting and reacting to the party's presence. It's largely a DM tool. I mean, there's player-facing abilities and modifiers that affect it, but it's mostly for the DM to figure out how to run this shit. So in this case, I think before we'd roll surprise or evasion, I'd want to just roll a reaction, just flat 2d6. It's pretty positive. Okay, so these ants see this shit coming. They sense this thing coming, and they pack up and move. And so at the time of the encounter, which is, like I said, like 80 feet away, we see a group of about 15 giant ants heading in the opposite direction. Like they're all traveling together in a line. We see like the tail end of the line traveling away deeper into the forest. So it's not technically really an encounter. We're not surprised or anything. I don't know what a surprise, if we had been surprised, if that would have done anything. I don't know if I would have even rolled for surprise in this case. I think we could have probably skipped surprise and evasion, because the monsters are technically evading us. Which, yeah, I mean, they're trying to evade at least. If the party was really persistent and was like, we're going to chase after them, then, you know, maybe I would roll evasion on the monster's side, or maybe we would just play it out and see what the players do. But I think this isn't always going to be just like a step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4 thing. I think it has to be a bit more fluid than that, just because there's like limitless types of situations imaginable. The encounter activity table those do help me a lot in painting a picture and figuring out how they would act or react in any given situation, but I'm not always going to have those, so I have to just try and think. And I think the reaction roll just helps me a lot with that. I could have just skipped the reaction roll and just said, like, yeah, they're running away from you. But I was unsure, and that's the whole point of the reaction roll. All right, anyways, that's all well and good. See, we're learning. It's all a fun process. Next, we're going to move on to this hex. It's a 9, which is another fucking monster encounter, of course, yep. And a rarity for this one is going to be normal rarity. Common rarity, that's good. And it's a 6, which is black bears. Okay, now we're definitely going to have an encounter activity for black bears. These things are pretty nasty, but there's not going to be many of them. So first we're going to roll layer percentage, 25%. Nope. Wandering black bears, it's 1d2, so there's just one black bear coming through the forest. Distance, again, we'll just say 80 feet, so I don't have to roll every time, but it could be... I mean, it could be all sorts of... I mean, that's 48 feet, so, like, double near. So, fairly close. It's by itself, so, I mean, we can roll on the black bear. This is going to be a d20 table, so 8. That means that it is searching sullenly for a ranger companion. Oh, this is a domesticated bear. See how interesting that is? This is not a wild feral bear. This has a companion. So it's... But would we know that? Not necessarily. But I think that would make it probably a bit more well-behaved. Maybe a bonus on the reaction table here. So we're going to roll for surprise first. I think it probably would have foreknowledge. I think when you're traveling in a caravan through a forest like this, I think most creatures are going to have foreknowledge of you. It's going to be very hard for us to ever surprise anything unless Scylla goes ahead on her own. So, yeah, we're almost never going to surprise anything, but we might be surprised. We are. So this black bear just kind of comes around a corner or something. Or just kind of sneaks up on us, to be honest. And then it's about 50 feet away. When it suddenly just, just kind of lets out a little low roar, spooking us. And so now we would roll... We can't evade because we were surprised, so that's mostly what that intends. But depending on the reaction, it could, if it was bandits, they could jump us, or if it was a dragon, could breathe fire on us. It's tricky for a dragon to surprise you, but it could happen. Here, the bear could charge someone and just try and maul them if the reaction was negative enough. I'm going to roll a 2d6 plus 2 because it is a trained bear, but it's also distraught. Okay, so it's pretty positive. So it's not going to charge. It's just going to kind of slowly approach and make some like low kind of whining sounds, I suppose. So I imagine we would think this to be pretty odd. None of us have the ability to speak with animals or anything like that. So being able to intuit what this bear is hoping to find. I mean, we can feed it, I guess. But to figure out that it's looking for its master, its companion, whatever, that would probably be pretty tricky. I would probably give players maybe an intelligence check to try to figure that out. Try to analyze the bear and the situation. Maybe put 2 and 2 together. We'll set DC 15 for Amina to try to figure that out. Oh, she got it. She's like, oh, yes. This bear is domesticated, I dare say. there are just telltale signs, and she puts it all together and says, yes, this thing's probably looking for its master. So that gives, you know, the opportunity to maybe try to find the companion. Yeah, I feel bad. I feel bad for this bear. So, fuck it. We have 4 hours of daylight today. We're gonna try to find this companion in this hex. We'll search. So it's going to be a little risky, but the bear is going to be with us. Searching the wild, I think for us, it's 17 or plus. 17 or higher on a d20 roll. So it's not likely we'll find him at this rate. We're kind of slow. But we do have the bear with us, who probably is not terrible at tracking his master. He has acute olfaction, can track the scent of creatures for up to 6 miles. Yeah. So we actually need a 13 or higher per hour. The first roll, fail. So then we're going to have to roll a random encounter check, which is another monster. Ooh, that's pretty rare. $15 is going to be a rare monster in the forest. 63. Oread nymphs. Okay. Oread nymphs. Okay. Nymphs of the mountains, roaming the forests of their rocky homes, hunting such wild beasts as take their fancy, exulting in the chase. So they're neutral. They're keen hunters. They can bewitch humanoids. Hard to say then. They might be hunting this bear now. They've caught wind that there's a bear in the region, a big black bear, so they're hunting it. Maybe they already picked off the ranger or something, left him for dead. Okay. I don't think they really have great love for humans or anything like that. But it doesn't say anything about a penalty to reaction rolls, so it is what it is. Alright, let's roll the lair percentage. Oh, we did find their lair. Shit. So we found a cave. There's 2d4 in there. 5 nymphs. Okay, well that's problematic. They have foreknowledge for sure, 100%. We don't. So we could be surprised by them by this cave. Yep, we are. Okay, so that's pretty bad. So we kind of just come around a hillside or something like here, or a little cliffside, and we see a cave entrance suddenly, and there are 5 nymphs in there. Technically, we wouldn't have even had line of sight on them then. They're inside the cave, in the dark cave, so yeah, we would have been with a -1. So now we're going to roll a reaction. Technically, you know, the charisma adjustment of the party's face is usually added to the roll. If the context of the encounter is such that no social interaction could take place at all, then the judge will roll on the reaction table without any modifier from the face. If they're going to ambush us, then that's... I mean, we don't have a chance to interact with them if they're just going to fling out javelins or try and bewitch us or something like that, or fire short bows. Like, they got us dead to rights. We don't have time to react. So it's just to see how they feel about the situation. Okay, very friendly. surprisingly friendly, or they just really don't want to fuck with 10 people here. They're outnumbered. Which means that they don't ambush, they're in the dark, we didn't have foreknowledge, and we don't have line of sight. So there is a chance we don't even know that they're in there. Which means that I guess if I was doing this at a table, I'd just be making a bunch of rolls and thinking in my head. And then I'd just be like, yeah, you see a cave entrance nearby. I guess that's probably how we do it. But the reaction roll is positive enough that if we, like, started stepping in or something, they probably wouldn't, well, they certainly wouldn't attack. They'd probably make themselves known at that point. But they seem sort of private. They're nymphs. They don't really have a great love for humans, but they're certainly not interested in ever starting a fight here unless we do something really bad. I think we would probably investigate, though, because we're looking for this ranger. So we think it's possibly may have found this cave and crawled in. So we will approach, and we'll call out, because if he's in there and alive, maybe he'll answer. So, you know, hello, hello, anyone in there? And then the nymphs will appear. It says they speak classical Nicaean as well as the local dialect of their region. I mean, Amina speaks a lot of languages, but it's like, that's the tricky thing with Axe using this monster manual is I don't really use their language system. So when in doubt, I like to go to D&D 5e because that's usually the language that the languages I'm most familiar. They have no nymphs in D&D 5e? Not officially, wow. Sylvan is their language. Okay, so like the language of the Fae. I don't know if that's even in it. Oh, no, Zaphiel does speak Sylvan. Ho ho, Dryads, look at that. Awesome. Okay, Zaphiel can communicate then. He's also an elf, so they might have a little bit more affinity with him. So, they say something in Sylvan of like, you know, this is our home, please, you know, we don't want any trouble. Zaphiel tells them that, you know, we also probably don't want any trouble, I would imagine. Nymphs are known for their ability to just bewitch people, so yeah, we don't really want to mess with that. We're looking for a man, a man by himself in these woods, probably a ranger, this bear's companion. Would they have seen him? Let's roll an oracle check. Yes, they are familiar with the man. They saw him about 1.5 miles to the east by the stream, I guess. And we thank them profusely and we go on our way, and that's it. Nice. Okay, so now we're gonna get a nice big bonus. We'll roll the then we'll roll our second searching check now with advantage. So we need 13 or higher on either dice. Okay, we still haven't found it, but we're getting close. But another encounter, 15. That might be terrain. Yes, it's a dangerous terrain encounter, so we are going to have to roll that while trying to find this stream out here. It's another foul fountain. That's the one I don't like. 7. Poison. That's worse. Adventurers find something poisonous. Roll on the poison table to determine what type of poison was found and what quantity. Poison may be disguised, appear to be useful herbs or other valuable commodity. Character with naturalism proficiency or another appropriate proficiency can identify the find with a proficiency throw of 11+. Okay. So let's roll a d20 for the type of poison. It is Wolf's Bane. 2d6 plus 1 doses of Wolf's Bane. Okay. It may be disguised and appear to be useful herbs or other valuable commodity. Okay, so while we're foraging or something, someone grabs some wolfsbane. Technically, Scylla is an herbalist, so she would be able to identify this. I think it's a little cruel though in a game without proficiencies to just entirely rely on a random background to either do this or not. So I would say that anyone could maybe identify with an int check. I'd probably say it's higher than 11 though in that case. So probably like a DC 15 to identify, but since she's an herbalist, she gets advantage. Okay, so she does immediately identify as wolfsbane and say like, "Oh, don't touch it. Don't take that. It's poisonous." Wolfsbane's pretty good, I think. I mean, it's not like a combat poison really. Because it takes 10 minutes to kick in with an injury. It does 2d8 poison damage and paralysis for 2d4 turns. But it is valued pretty high, 325 gold per dose. Which is not bad at all, considering how many fucking doses this is. 2d6 plus 1. Now, harvesting the poison takes 1 turn per dose. 6 doses of poison counts as a minor strenuous activity. Doubling harvest time increases proficiency throw by +4, tripling it by +8. Each dose harvest counts as 1 item for encumbrance purposes. Okay, sort of an odd way to put it, I guess. So I'm not going to give her advantage to harvest it. That's going to be just a normal thing. But I think in that case, the herbalist allows her to harvest it. Maybe anyone could, but anyone else would harvest with disadvantage. Because if you roll a 1, you somehow, I don't know, you like lick your fingers or something. I'm not quite sure what it's meant to happen there. Just says you've been exposed to the poison. But sure. It seems like kind of a windfall though. 2d6 plus 1 is going to average out to 8. So that's like 2,400 gold of wolfsbane we found. Maybe, on average, if we succeed. We have to spend time. We do still want to find this guy. We have 2 hours of daylight left. So I'm only going to spend... I'm only going to get 6 doses. Assuming there's 6 doses here. There is. Okay, so we're going to leave some behind, assuming I can get this. And we have to roll 6 times. So we're probably not even going to get 6. But them's the breaks. Alright, so this is an int check. We'll just do 6 d20 and add plus. So we need a 9 or higher to get doses. 1, 2, 3, 4 doses we got. Okay, and she did not expose herself at all. Alright, let's throw it on a donkey. Wolfsbane. 4 doses. 325 gold each. Awesome. That'll take up... it says 1 item for encumbrance purposes. I'm not quite sure what that means, but I would say 0.25. So that would be total of 1. What does that mean? Each dose harvest counts as 1 item for encumbrance purposes. What is what? I thought everything was in stone, but now you're throwing them out number of items. Oh, 1 stone per 6 items is a typical item. I think that's what they mean. Okay, so yeah, that's fine. 0.25 is good. That's fine. Awesome. Well, that was a bit of a windfall then, because that's 325 times 4. 1300 XP we just picked up there. Not bad at all. Not quite a cash or anything, but it's also... yeah, it's pretty good. Okay, so then we have 1 more hour to try to find this. I'm going to roll a search check again with advantage. We need a 13 or higher. We got it. Okay. We finally found this stream just as the sun's about to set. And sure enough, we find the ranger. And he's been injured by something. And the bear just like charges at him and licking his face and stuff. You know, whatever bear companions do, I suppose. But this guy's in rough shape. He probably needs some medical attention. But thankfully we have a cleric here, so heal him. Heal him! There you go. Boom, 7. Miraculously knitting together his wounds. He is back in business. And he will camp with us tonight. Yes. He shall thank us. Maybe he'll even give us a little reward, because I like to do that for players. Let's roll foraging. Nope, definitely not there. Nope. So close. Nope, no foraging was done today. We will eat our 10 rations. The ranger probably has his own, I would imagine. So 10 rations. I have to calculate this number. 98, so we're at 88 rations. Okay, good. Yeah, that's all good. Okay, let's roll our random encounter for the evening then. It's a 19, which is a terrain encounter, and we can ignore it. Awesome. Alright, what does the ranger give us? I don't know. I would imagine some minor magical thing. It's not more interesting than... like money or something. I guess he could give potions. He might have some potions. He's kind of an adventurer. You know, this would be an opportunity if we really wanted to hire him on as a hireling or something, but I'm not going to get involved with that. I want to roll on that... what was the one? What was the supplement that we used? The Book of Marvelous Magic, I think. This one had all like the weird little trinkets. Because he doesn't want to give anything away that's too valuable to him. Like he's an adventurer. But some sort of little oddity or something. 93. Tools and hardware. What a... like, why... Okay. Well, it's tools and hardware. Or it would be travel items. One of the two. Because, I mean, it's like 87 to 93 is tools and hardware or travel items. Unless I'm just not reading this correctly. Find the category indicated by table 1. Roll D percentage to determine the exact item. How the fuck does this work? What are these numbers? I feel like the number applies to something here. Is it a D15 or something? But then what is the 100 for? Randomly select from magical item. Roll percentile dice. Consult table 1 categories. Refer to that category's table Roll D% again to find the type of item. Right. Except that you have 2 sections for 1 section of number. So... Alright, it's going to be a travel item because I rolled on the higher end. Okay. So then it could be land and air travel or water travel. And the problem here is that it's like, it's going to be either a special cart, a flying carpet, or probably a type of tent or wheel. Which I think he probably needs a tent. So alright, we'll roll on the tools and hardware. 83. It's a special rake that he has. Yeah, this is exactly why we looked up this book. Just weird shit. Magic rakes. It's a D6. 2. It's a rake of climbing. This rake will on command lengthen as much as 30 feet. If the prongs can be used to catch some outcropping or ledge, the user may hold on to the rake and command it to shorten, providing easy passage up most sheer surfaces. It may be used to descend by hanging from it and command it to lengthen. So it's basically like an on-command grappling hook that can hold your own weight. How much weight can it hold? Who knows? Can you use it for other stuff? Probably. Like, you could use it as, like, a big... Like, if you need to grab something at a distance and drag it towards you, you could probably use it for that. But, yeah, I mean... If you're using it for that purposes, like holding on and managing a 30-foot-long pole is probably not easy. It's so random and dumb, and it's just like, yeah. And so he's been carrying this rake, and he's like, you know what, I'm kind of sick of carrying this rake. I don't do much climbing as it is. Since since he's got the bear here, he doesn't do that much climbing. Like sheer cliffs or things like that. So fuck it, he's ready to get rid of it, and this is a good opportunity. So he's gonna give us the rake of climbing. It's gonna take up, God, it should probably take up like 2 slots. Nah, I'll make it 1. Not much should take up 2, but it's 3 to 5 foot long handle with a stiff metal prongs. Okay. I kind of do want to bring it into a dungeon, so... Oh, fuck, you don't even have your leather armor on. She's carrying so much stuff. The bedrolls can all go on the donkeys. We don't have to carry those. Bedroll times 4. Okay, and that can change this to a 10. Yeah, we don't have to carry bedroll. Once you get pack animals, leave that shit behind. Okay, awesome. Alright, so then she'll take the rake of climbing. So stupid, I love it. Yeah, we can definitely come up with some stuff to do with this rake. If I remember, she has it. All right, and then we part ways with the ranger, and we go on our merry way. So now we're gonna go into this hex here. We did go a little off of our normal path though to find that guy, so I'm gonna have to roll a navigation here to see which hex we end up in. Not that it matters too much, but we'll see. I guess it would, because if we don't realize we're lost, we would just go north from here. And we would end here instead of here, so it could be problematic. Okay, we got it. Found our way again. We end up here, random encounter of 10, which is going to be a monster. It's going to be a rare monster, and it's going to be a 58 on the rare table. We're getting accustomed to this. 58 on the rare table is a Gald tray. Galder tray. Sylvan Beach. Okay, this is a new creature. I have no idea. I think it's like a treant or... No, I don't know. Sort of treant-esque. They have a speed of 5 feet. It's a magic tree. They're sapient and communicative, but their voices are indistinguishable from leaves rustling or branches waving, except other plants or those able to speak with plants. They are wise in wood lore and sometimes consulted by shamans. They can cause an enchanting whistle audible at up to 180 feet away. They can become enthralled by the Galder tree. Can use full round action to summon a soporific mist that surrounds itself in a 30-foot radius. Can attack targets up to 20 feet away using twining roots and gnarled branches. Can pull creatures into a gaping hollow in its trunk. Can tear itself from the ground and walk on its roots. Slow combat speed of 5 feet, if necessary. They're loath to leave and quick to return to the vicinity of the magic which animates them. They cultivate beehives within their branches. And they have a tough bark that makes them immune to mundane piercing damage, resistant to extraordinary piercing damage. They are susceptible to fire damage. Says their alignment varies. It doesn't sound like they would have much reason to just attack things. I feel like we'd have to roll pretty low on a reaction roll here. But it is sort of a majestic looking tree. They have terrestrial mechanoreception, so it knows we're coming from a long ways off. All right, so then let's just roll surprise on our side. We are not surprised. I don't believe so. So we could evade, but we don't even know what we're evading. We don't even know this thing exists. Well, I don't think... Well... Again, I guess it would kind of depend on what... You have to, again, narrate what the players would see to decide if they want to evade this thing. So, I mean, pretty much they just see, like, this massive, gorgeous tree that stands out from everything else in the middle of a clearing. Do you want to evade? Which suggests that it's a monster. So even asking if you want to evade suggests it's a monster rather than like terrain, you know. So I don't know if I would even mention an invasion roll as an option, because it just looks like a cool tree. They could think that it's a terrain encounter. Also 90% chance for lair encounter. Oh my god, it's not in its lair. So it actually is on the move. Okay, why on earth would it be on the move then? Because it loses 1 hit dice each hour it's absent from its lair. Also, there's going to be a D4 of them. There's not just one tree. So there's 2 of these massive trees moving through the forest. I should have rolled that first. That changes a lot of stuff. Oh, man. I think we do have an encounter activity table for treants, which isn't quite the same thing, but it's pretty close. 18. Confronting a local peasant collecting deadfall. No, we're a bit too far in. Spreading an ancient potent religion much to the chagrin of clerics. No, we gotta do something that's really pressing because they wouldn't leave. No. And blossoming sublimely for a fairy wedding. No, no, no. Driving away an orc scouting party could be. I think that might help. Except that these two Galder trays would fucking destroy an orc scouting party. So we probably... Okay, we can ignore all the other stuff we rolled in, because we just see in the distance, like, 80 feet away or whatever, we see a pack of like 7 or 8 orcs being chased by 2 large moving trees. They're moving pretty slowly though. But yeah, their branches are flying out, and Orcs are getting lifted up and ripped apart and thrown into the gaping hollows in the tree. It is crazy. I think we probably would try to evade that, which I think is a 9 or higher. Okay, no, unless my number's off. Oh, it's a 2. Oh, no, 4 or higher. Oh, yeah, it's really easy to evade in a forest. Shockingly easy, unless you're surprised. Okay, excellent. So, yeah, we just ignore that whole situation. So we get to here, and then now our navigation roll to try to find that valley again. And again, we need 12 or higher on this roll. We fail, so we're going to go into an adjacent hex, which technically could be anything because we also evaded. So it could be anything. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3. So we went directly back the way we came. I think we'd probably realize that pretty quickly, but we roll a random encounter check. 17 is a valuable terrain encounter. Boy, those come up, don't they? Food. Okay, we find another big pile of mushrooms or something. 10 rations. 20 standard rations. We will consume those tonight. We should also forage. No. 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 Okay, so 20 standard rations. We will consume 10 of those. So 10 standard rations. 10 standard rations. That's 30. Well, no, that's not really that much. That's like 6 slots. Okay, since we all consume standard rations, we do have advantage on one check of our choice this next day, which we should be cognizant of. That includes whatever random encounter we have tonight, which is a 14, and that is terrain, so we can ignore that. New day, we're going to go back the way we came. Encounter. Okay. Unique terrain encounter. Those are always sort of the hardest to work with because they're quite unique. 7, monstrous shadow. That doesn't sound good at all. A nearby terrible monster casts a shadow over the area, or brightens the area if the monster is lawful. Roll a monster encounter for the terrain to determine the type of terrible monster. It's always in a lair, even if its type does not normally make lairs. If it has less than 11 hit dice, increase its hit dice to 11 as a result of the powers it has been infused with. For each hit dice of increase, AC improves by 1, deals an average of 2 hit points more damage. Increase its size by 1 category to a minimum of large. If it's neutral, change it to chaotic. The monster lair is a shadowed minor sinkhole of evil. If it's slain, the sinkhole of evil will disperse in 1d4 days. The creature rarely goes far from its lair, but otherwise acts as normal for a creature of its type. That's pretty awful, I gotta say, but sure, we'll roll a monster encounter for this terrain. So first would be rarity. I think that's common. Yep, that's common type. And it's a monstrous elf. An 11 hit dice monstrous elf in its lair. And it's chaotic. So this is a oh, that's really terrible. How did we find this shit? Okay, so oh my god. That's really bad news. Okay, so how many elves live in this fastness? Oof. Oh my god. Okay. So that would be... No, that would be... hold on. "98 elves live in this fastness." Which is, if it's a new established one, they typically have fewer no other residents, but in a long established fastness, additional elves will be present. So this is like a monstrous one, so I think it's newly established. So it's just the 98. It says they will be led by an elven spell sword of level 5 plus 1d4. He's going to be a level 11. And they're chaotic elves. So this is just like some rogue faction of elves that follow this just monstrous kind of spell sword. They're chaotic. They're not good. They probably would kill us. This is pretty wild. This is pretty wild. Is there a layer for elves listed that I could kind of work with? The elf. This is full elf layer on page 199. Oh, there it is. There's your full elf fastness. So you definitely would see buildings up there, things like that. Okay. So I think... I mean, there probably could be multiple roles here to figure out exactly what's happening. But we encounter the fastness then. We encounter the layer. So we would see like guard towers and the structures here. We'd see this in the distance as distinctly like elven. Like, Zaffiel would immediately recognize this as elven. The problem would be if we're like, oh, we found a place of elves. Let's go chat with them. Maybe they can give us some support or something. We have an elf in our party, blah, blah, blah. And then we find out pretty quickly these are not good elves. I could see that happening. I guess that's probably how I'd run it. I think I'd run it by just presenting this. They see this in the distance through the trees, you know, like up on a hill or whatever. You know, they're nearing a stream, sort of like down here. They see a guard tower. They see structures beyond it through the trees. Looks elven. Looks newly constructed. I think we're just gonna go around this. I mean, I could. You know, we could roll for surprise. We could roll for evasion. We could say that the guards might see us and blah. But I think really, I would just leave this in the player's hands and just present it as a location sort of thing. That's how I'd run it. So let's just move on. And we're like, oh, okay, elves, cool. We have busy work to do. We got to get to the valley. I'm gonna have her roll advantage on her navigation check. This is I really don't want to get lost. Okay, so we arrive here, we roll a d20, it's another something. I think it's terrain. Dangerous terrain as we try to find this valley. A lot of dangerous, valuable, unique terrain flying around these parts. It is a trap! It's a trap! Okay, we have to roll for the type of trap. As if it were placed on the 5th level of a dungeon. Page 238. Well, wait a minute. Oh, okay. Well, wait a minute. Determine the trap as if it were placed in the 5th level of a dungeon. I didn't see like a table or anything. I don't know if I was meant to just... I think I was meant to just pick a trap or just design a trap that's out here. So there's ceiling collapse trap, deadfalls, excavated earth, pit trap, fire trap, missile trap, needle trap, rock cut pit trap, rolling rock trap, where you have to drink rolling rock, scything blade trap, portcullis trap, spring snare trap, whipping branch trap. What an odd image this is. What the hell's going on here? Swinging log trap. Okay, I would say whipping branch, swinging log, spring snare. Excavated earth, deadfall. Maybe a missile trap or maybe a needle. No. Maybe a missile traps. Probably set by those elves. So we're going to do those 6 as the option. Okay, so it was, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It was a swinging log trap. So basically, like, you know, Empire Strikes Back or whatever with the Ewoks, where it's just... You know, you tripwire and then a log hidden behind some shrubbery is going to just swing out and smash into whoever tripped it. So 5th level is 7d8 damage. Those elves do not fuck around. Okay. Well, then it's going to be Noreen. He's always up front, and he has to roll a dex saving throw. Probably versus DC 12. That's like the standard. And he's gonna fucking roll with advantage, of course. Alright, so he trips the wire and the thing just comes smashing through. Technically it says it's in a 10-foot line, but I think that would be a lot harder in a wilderness case, so it probably is a horizontal one, out of sight. But that is quite nasty. Okay, well, there was that. That was fun. So now we found the entrance to the temple again. We're going to set up shop and camp for the night. So let's see how we foraged. Woohoo, we got some. Nope. Okay, we got 3 standard rations. So then we need to consume 7 more. That brings us down to 3. And we all have advantage again on the next day. Awesome. Overnight, however, we roll a 12. Rarity is going to be a common. Okay, so that is common rarity in the hills now. Hills any. 37. Ibex. Small herd animals. Okay. Well, that I think we just kind of see, you know, moving at the edge of our campfire maybe, or we hear just what sounds like a herd of animals not moving towards us. Probably not any cause for alarm. Although it's easy for me to say because I know what it is. If I just describe to the players of like, hey, you're on watch, you hear what sounds like a large group of creatures moving like 60 feet away, and it doesn't sound like it's coming closer to you. I guess it would be up to them to decide if they want to wake everybody or not. Because they might think that something's trying to surround them, or, you know, who knows what. So that would be kind of up to them. And I think it's important to make it perfectly clear that if you need a rest and you get interrupted, you have to roll to see if you get the benefit of the rest. In this case, everyone's rested. We probably would wake everybody up just because why wouldn't you? But, yeah. Anyways, moving on. New day. We are now going to head back down into the Sunless Fane. Took us an hour and 40 minutes to get back. Jesus. But we had some fun on the way. I mean, there was the thing with the bear and the trees and the orcs, and we found some mushrooms. I mean, what do you want? That's what it's all about. Now, it says for the Sunless Fane, for restocking. If the party leaves for more than a day, roll 1d6 for each major room that they've explored, marked with an asterisk. On a 1, add 1d4 levels of new monsters to that room. On a 6, add 1d4 levels of new monsters and treasure from the 0 to 3 treasure table. Right. So they encourage restocking. He's a big fan of that. So it says just add 1d4 levels of new monsters. It wouldn't be necessarily hobgoblins. We wiped out all the hobgoblins. So it would kind of be just stuff from further in that is just moving towards the entrance, or more likely it would be stuff from outside that found this, and this is like a safe location. So I think this could be then intelligent life. And if we go to the judge's journal and we go to well, basically, yeah, that section we were just in of like stocking the dungeon. We could roll on some of these tables. Or we could roll on the encounter dungeon table for this. This is the stuff that's most likely to be at, like, in the first level of a dungeon. You know, it's going to be goblins, kobolds, giant centipedes, giant rats, brigands, sturges, maybe skeletons, or even NPCs could be there. I think that's probably the most fitting thing to roll on, unless you have something special in mind. But yeah, this is the kind of stuff we'd expect to find. So let's do it. I almost never restock, but I think it's fair to do so. So we're going to roll for the sleeping quarters. And it only restocks on a 1 or a 6. So a lot of these are just still going to be empty. But the sleeping quarters are empty. And the storage room is not empty. So something did make it over to the storage room. That probably would be something from the dungeon then. So I'm going to roll on the random encounter table just to see what might be in there. 5. So it's a shadow. Okay. So the light that was in here is obviously long gone out. So there is a shadow. One of the shadows that we unleashed followed us in there and decided to just linger. Because who knows what these things think or how they behave or anything. So there's a shadow lingering in that room still, and it's dark. And then this whole place is dark now, so we are going to have to light a torch. Okay, the Cocoon Sanctuary also would have a restock check. And the room with the well would have a restock check. So I guess we can roll for both of those. The Cocoon Room also got restocked with a cave creeper. Go figure. So this, yeah, what are the odds of that? So the thing's mate or whatever finally made it there, and only to discover its corpse lying there. So maybe it is also nestled into the shell of that cocoon. It's not, I mean, it's going to be much more visible, or maybe it's on the ceiling or something. I don't know, but it's there. Okay, and then the other room with the well also restocked with a gray ooze. Okay, well, we have a lot of trouble then on our way in, but let's light a torch. I'll take this down to 4, 6. We're going to be moving cautiously. Scylla's probably scouting ahead a bit at the edge of our torchlight. So most of this looks pretty empty. We're going to go this way. She's going to, listen at this door. She doesn't hear anything because it's a shadow. And we're going to go in. Now, the Shadow is definitely going to... almost certainly going to attack. They're kind of hateful little things, I imagine. So -3 penalty to surprise rolls. So really, we only succeed on a 6. They are very hard to detect. If we had magical light, they wouldn't be able to enter. It'd be a lot more easy, but we don't. So we are surprised. Which sucks, because this thing's going to then lunge out and attack one of us. Could be anybody. I guess I'll roll 1, 2, 3, 4. It's going to be Amina, our mage, again! It only gets to roll 1 attack, but it's with advantage. Would she have cast... I didn't say I cast Arcane Armor. I forgot that it existed. I'll do an Oracle roll to see if she remembered. No, she didn't remember. Fuck. Alright, so it attacks twice. It technically has +3 on the roll. Or it attacks once. That's an 11. That is just barely a miss. Oh my god. That dex saved us. Okay, so Shadow lunges out at her, but she catches it right at the last moment because she's holding the torch, which helps. I mean, not mechanically, but narratively. Alright, and we are against a Shadow now. What is our dex for the Shadow? +2. What is our initiative now? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 divided by 4. Still a 1. It's really hard for our group to get 2. Again, yeah, if I was going to DM for a group, it would probably be individual initiative. I think that's fair. The only issue I have with individual initiative is the bookkeeping. Like, in person, the bookkeeping, it's a little annoying to do. So monsters might still be generally just one big group. Unless there's really, like, 2 different kind of factions, or one has a much greater disparity in its dexterity than another. Something like that. So it'd probably still be a group. So it's more just, are you going before the monsters or after the monster kind of thing. But, yeah, so we're still on a +0. No, +1. I'm sorry, +1 compared to +2. Our initiative is a 3. His is a 5. He's going to go again. So he's going to attack once on Amina. And that is a hit, unfortunately. Nothing I could do. Well, I could use the luck token to force him to reroll. But odds are he's going to hit. He hits on a 9 or higher. So I guess we'll just have to... it's really bad. It's really bad to get hit by this. I think we will spend that luck token to make that a reroll. Nope, now he hit even more. Ah, damn it. This is what you get for leaving off Arcane Armor. Alright, so it's 1d4 damage, which is 3. So you're now at 6 out of 6. And you're going to have to do all these rolls every day. At least you have a +1 con. But yeah, she's now enervated. Fuck! That sucks. We're going to lose another goddamn mage. Alright, here's the real problem, though. They cannot be harmed by mundane damage. Which means that we don't have much to do. We don't have much to do. Can Zaphiel use Cause Light Injury on this thing? That would perhaps help. Deals 1d6 +1 death damage to a living creature. No, does not work. But undead creatures are affected in the reverse way. Oh, you can cast Cure Light Injury on it. Awesome. Well, we will do that. That's pretty good. It says a successful attack throw is required to touch the target. We're just going to use his roll versus the AC. So basically, if he succeeds on the cast, he hits it. That was actually not correct. He missed by 1. So he casts it successfully, but he misses the shadow by fucking 1. No, I would have had to declare advantage ahead of time. Damn it. Okay, Noring can't do anything. He has no magical abilities or anything like that. So that is what it is. Scylla, same thing. No magical abilities. But she can throw a flask of holy water. And I think she shall. She's got one left, so she's just going to toss it. So she has to roll a dex attack throw. She's going to roll with advantage. She got it. Okay, so that's 1d8 this round, 1d8 next round. 4 damage to it. It has 11 hit points total. And then Amina is going to try to cast Frostbite on it. She has no advantage. She already used that for this. No, we didn't, did we? And we definitely ate standard rations. So no, she has advantage again. She's going to use it. Excellent. Okay, so he has to make a death saving throw against 19. Death saving throw is, what did we say? What are we thinking? Con? Okay, so what's this thing's con? +2. Okay, so he has to roll a 17 or higher. He did not. So he's going to take the full brunt of Frostbite, which is D6 for 3 rounds. Oof. Excellent. So we have done now 10 damage to it. It has 1 hit point left. Awesome. And it's basically guaranteed to die, right? Because the holy water will trigger on his turn. And the frostbite's going to trigger on Amina's turn. So no matter who wins initiative here, it's dead. We've stacked effects on it. Our initiative is a 4. His is a 4. Our initiative is 4. His is 8. So he takes the D8 from the holy water, which is just barely enough. And he just disintegrates. And there's just a pile of nothing. A pile of ash, I guess, on the ground. Yeah, those things are nasty for low levels. The enervation is nasty. They appear in dungeons in groups of 1d8. Really bad, unless you have magical light. Okay, we got 71 XP for that. I don't think we did any other combat or anything. I don't think we did anything on the way here. It was a lot of just evasion and reaction, positive reaction, and yeah, okay. Great. Our second mage affected by the Morgul blade. I think we're gonna go south now. We went east for a bit. We uncovered some stuff there. We're gonna go south. So, and we probably spent a torch to get here. South is the wood of the door is warped and swollen shut. So we can't just open it. We have to break it down, and it's going to be very loud. But that's what we got to do. I guess she'll listen first to see if we should suspect something on the other side, so we're not surprised entirely. There's 6 swarms of black ants. Okay. I think she probably could hear that. Maybe. I'll set the DC at 15. It's through a door, you know, that's always the tricky thing. She crit. Awesome. Thank you. She definitely hears the sound of what sounds like hundreds of small insects in the next room. That's not good. Maybe we don't want to go in there then. Okay. Yeah, maybe we don't want to go in that room. We will instead go this way. Let me roll a random encounter check. Ooh, random encounter as we enter this hallway here. That's a D10. 7. 2 animated armors. Now that one I don't think is in the monster manual. Okay, well, we don't really need it to be. We can go to the Shadowdark one. Animated armor. Old suit of armor magically animated by a vengeful spirit. 15 AC, 11 hit points each. Plus 3 on their attack for 1d8 damage. When standing still, looks exactly like a suit of armor. This is a random encounter, so we can narrate it however we want to. I like that aspect. I think that's partly what makes this a unique creature, so we're going to do that. That we enter into the hallway, and we notice to the north... Well, we notice flanking the door to the north and south are 2 suits of armor on display. And you don't recall seeing these earlier. And this would be where the players either demonstrate their genre knowledge or not, and either immediately try and attack them or just be like, oh, I go and inspect the armor, and then they get fucking jumped. Would our character suspect something is quite amiss? I guess the real question is, would our characters try to attack these things suspecting they're creatures? Yes. So perhaps Amina is like, wait. If these weren't here before, they could be animated armor waiting for us to approach. So they are not stupid. They only have a -1 intelligence, so they're not that dumb. So I think Scylla's just gonna like raise her short bow and point an arrow directly at one. And then they're going to suddenly animate. I think Amina saying that, you know, if a player said that, I'd probably say, okay, they have foreknowledge. Both sides have foreknowledge and line of sight. So I think that's just nothing. Yeah, it's just nothing. We just go into combat. So the animate and we go into combat. Their dex is -1. Ours is +1. Our initiative is 6. Theirs is 4. We get to go immediately. Scylla's pointing the arrows, so she'll fucking shoot. Alright, 5 damage on 1. Down to 6. Noreen's going to try to just clobber it. Just dismantle it. He does. Excellent. Okay, he's going to step then and try to cleave the other one. He brings it down to 4. Zaphiel's going to try to finish it off. Unlikely. Miss. And then Amina either has to try to waste a frostbite or just stand there and do nothing. It's down to 4 hit points. She'd have to max roll a dart. I guess she'll try to max roll a dart. She didn't. She max rolled damage. You needed to hit, though. Alright, the animated armor then is just going to swing at Noreen. So it's got a +3 on the roll. It misses. Our initiative is 3. His initiative is 4. He's going to swing at Noreen again. Misses. And Noreen is just like a fucking god at this point, although he missed. Scylla's going to move in with a dagger. Do some dagger work. Okay, it brings it down to 2 hit points. Miss. And a dart. Miss. We gotta subtract darts. New initiative. 4 for us, 4 for him. 2 for us, 4 for him. He swings at Noreen. Still misses, just barely. It's just too good, man. We're fighting too easy of stuff. He misses again. Scylla finally manages to kill it. And that's it. This is a level 2 creature, so not a whole lot of XP there. 20 each, so 40. Pretty easy encounter. But we're in the early sections of this place, so... Except for the 3 fucking shadows that came out. I think there might have meant to be treasure in that other room where I rolled a 6 for the shadow. What number was the shadow? 5. Yes, that was a 6, so there should have been treasure in that room. 1d3 treasure. Okay. We can pretend that it was in the animated armors instead. I'm fine with... Although the animated armors would have their own treasure check. And they would also have their own treasure. Okay. Well, let's just roll double then on this. We'll roll on the to die for table. 58 and 97. That's pretty juicy. Bundle of Arctic hair pelts cleaned and dried recently. Seems kind of unlikely. I mean, all of this is probably going to be kind of unlikely on a shadow. But that's what it says to do, so... Okay, bundle of Arctic hair pelts were 24, and a +1 magic armor. Oh, ho, 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 ho. Now, it's valued at 150 gold, and our rate, 1,500 gold. That's still way under what a +1 magic armor would be worth. But we're going to say the animated armor actually just sort of... One of them actually does stay intact enough and is actually a +1 armor. Okay, so let's add the Arctic hair pelts. Who knows where these things came from, but they're worth 240 gold. Okay, and then armor. We're going to roll on the axe treasure table, and we're going to roll for armor. So we're going to roll for the type of armor, and this depends on sort of the nature of your setting and everything. I would say we're probably high fantasy or sword and sorcery. Either one. They're pretty close. Sword and sorcery is going to include a few other options like heavy arena plate or light arena plate. Modifies the numbers slightly. We'll go sword and sorcery. I think that... Shadowdark could be ancient myth, to be honest. Which means no chainmail and no ringmail, but it adds padded as a potential option. No, I feel chainmail's in Shadowdark. We have to have that. So... yeah, not one of them has every option, which is interesting. We'll go sword and sorcery. 8. All right, it is scale mail. I think that's well and good. Okay, so we're rolling a type of scale mail, which would be armors. So any one of these could be scale. I mean, they could be anything. I think. Well, no, it's not quite true. No, they're more specific than that. I think some of them might be more flexible, but the only scale mail +1 that's in the book is scale armor +1 summer, which is valued at 41,500 gold because it increases to a +2 in spring and autumn, +3 in the summer, and it makes you resistant to mundane and extraordinary cold damage. So if we wanted to go for max, you know, we'd be looking at these specific things. We could go then with a Shadowdark system. We could go a billion different ways, as always, whenever we look at these things. Let's look at D4 Caltrops. They might have 100 pieces of magical armor or something like that. Um, 100 magic armors. This one should be sort of more minor effects. 21. Each Vambrace can transform into a dagger when needed. Okay, that would be if we wanted bracers. We don't want bracers. One suit can change type, leather, chain, or plate on command once per day. It does have some value. A plate mail wearer being able to just drop down to leather in order to go swimming or something like that. It's actually not bad. And I think that kind of suits this animated armor. Okay, so we find it as scale armor, but it can change to any armor type once per day. And it's +1. So I think this is going to go to I guess it's gonna go to Scylla? Although she'll never change it off of leather. It's just that she would be the only one to benefit from the +1. So I guess it's gonna go to Noreen. Yeah, I guess it's gonna go to Noreen. Unfortunately, it just makes the most sense for him to be able to change compared to Scylla. Alright. So I'm just gonna swap out his... Well, no, we really should hold on to this. It's Masterwork Plate Mail. This thing's worth 710 gold. We can sell this. So... Fuck. It's just really heavy. Zaphiel can use plate, right? Alright, so if we give this over to Amina, we give him plate, delete that, he's now got the Masterwork Plate Mail, and then we change this over to shifting plate armor, no, shifting scale armor. He's going to change it to plate right away, so shifting plate armor +1. Yeah, his stats are not going to change. It's just that he can change. Nope. Armor can change to any other armor type on command once per day. Cool. And that one is worth 710 based on the apparent value of it. Awesome. All right, I think I'm gonna have to end off here, my friends. We've done well. We made it back to the Sunless Fane. Our mage is enervated yet again, so that's that. But we should be able to use her to clear out a lot of this place. So we will continue spelunking next time. Good stuff. Yeah, Shadowdark is good, good, good. My name is Mang. This has been Solo Roll Manging. I'll see you fine folks in the next part.